seems to say otherwise.
I could say that about medicine too. There are surgeons who tell a person, you need this surgery and let me do it, and they'll steal your kidneys away from you and then sell them for huge amounts of money in some other country. Yes? So does that mean all surgeons are bad? The concept of medicine is the spirit is there to cure people. In days before such a commercial greed came into the medical world, doctors were people with very high integrity. They took to this profession not just to become rich, they took to this profession because they really wanted to help people. And if such a doctor becomes really wealthy, that's wonderful. But that is not the priority. The priority is to represent what a doctor is supposed to be. And if they understand that properly, then they really will help people's health. But there are doctors who are very immoral. And for the purpose of greed, they have killed people, exploited people. So does that mean the medical profession is bad? In the name of spirituality, there are people who exploit the concept of God to exploit people. In the name of a loving God, they kill, they terrorize, there's violence. In every great religion, humility is the basic principle of religion. But in the name of God and religion, we become so arrogant that we have to prove the obsessive need in my heart that I am superior to you. And we pass judgment and hatred on anyone different. That has absolutely nothing to do with religion. As exploiting a patient does not have anything to do with real medicine. So we have to understand spirituality in its essence. Its spirituality has always been very holistic. In India, in the Vedic times, and even as of 100 years ago, it was mostly people who really studied the Vedas, who lived real simple, who were the Vaidyas, the doctors. And they really knew how to cure people. And they did cure people. It's not that 200 years ago diseases were so much more than now. In today's world, the stress, the pressures, the arrogances, the pollutions, everything, it's all interconnected to greed. So if we really want to make a difference in the world, we all have to take the responsibility. In spiritual life, if we're representing God, then we really have to represent the love, the peace, the compassion of God, who sees every living being as his own children. As a doctor, all the great medical gurus and doctors throughout history who have handed down and developed the medical profession. As a doctor, we are representing something higher than ourselves. We are representing God's grace. We're representing the whole medical profession for all doctors throughout the world. And we see in many of these examples that we have heard about of doctors getting beaten, their houses being burned, being sued in the courts, and all of these things. Because certain people are misusing their authority and their position. So many others are getting punished for it. We have to take responsibility for what we represent, whoever we are, in whatever profession we're in. And that especially holds true in religion and, in my opinion, medicine also. I'd like to give a little example of something that moved my heart. Because we see the challenges on the screen before. It was said that at one time doctors were seen like gods. But now they're seen like criminals. Yes, there's some truth to that. But for each of and every one of us, individually and collectively, to grow, in whatever storm that comes, we have to see an opportunity. With these things happening, we could just defend ourselves, which is required. But how could we grow through this? What is the opportunity in it? Years ago, our Bhaktivedanta hospital was attacked, violently attacked, to such a degree the hospital had to close. It's not that they did anything seriously wrong. I'm not going to go into any details. It was a political situation. The hospital was closed for 1 year. Doctors, nurses, staff, everyone had to either somehow or other get their own little jobs, and will the hospital ever open again? And I remember at a certain point, I was called on the phone. They said, we should just rent out this building and do something somewhere else. And we came together and came to a conclusion. That's not the answer. Let's see what we could learn from this situation. Let us very honestly reevaluate what our purpose is, what is the meaningful reason that we have this hospital, what is our true responsibilities. We started giving much higher salaries to the people who were just helping in various more menial ways. More beds totally for charity. It became more of a missionary hospital. The mission was to help people physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We're here to serve them. We're here to honor them. We're here to appreciate them. We're here to show God's love for them by helping them in every possible way, the patients, the relatives of the patients, everyone. And that took sacrifices for everyone. But all the devotees and all the people and all the volunteers, whoever, were willing to make a sacrifice of even taking a loss for a higher purpose of being a hospital of compassion rather than being distracted from that. And within a year, the hospital was making many times more money than ever before. But people loved us because they felt we cared about them. So what's happening in the medical world in India today, it's a wake-up call. And wake-up calls are not negative things. We can transform the negative into positive, curses into blessings. Each and every one of us, individually and collectively, let us reevaluate what our real purpose is and what our service is to God and humanity. And try to refine that. And then we could grow. People don't like rain in the cities, but at the farms they like rain. Because in the cities it's just an inconvenience, but in the farms it's what makes the food grow for us. I remember when my father went through total bankruptcy. I was a little boy. He always sang a song. When April showers come your way, they bring the flowers that bloom in May. So the difficulties that come in life, they can have a sacred purpose if they help us to really focus on what's truly important, what's truly my dharma.
Thank you for a beautiful, elaborate answer. I think the last thing you said was extremely significant. You changed the whole focus of the conference by saying that what we are really scared of in terms of what's happening to the medical profession is don't have to be defensive, but it's a wake-up call. A time to change, time to evaluate, time to introspect. I think that's very, very beautiful. And so essentially, Swamiji, you're probably saying that to be the way we need to be as doctors, we have to be strong believers in God. But every doctor, we have to be strong believers in God. We have to be strongly theistic in our approach to the medical profession. But not every doctor may be a theist. So in this case, can he still be an ethical doctor? Can he still be a spiritual doctor? Or does he have to do something to actually be called as, the way you're saying, carry the grace of God to his patients?
Whatever we have can be lost. We have all seen eloquent speakers, deep thinkers, who due to some medical situation, they can't talk anymore, they can't remember anything anymore. People who are incredibly skillful in various arts or practices, and they get a stroke or something and they can't do anything anymore. So whatever skills and intelligence we have, the spiritual principle is that it is entrusted to us by a higher power than our own. And while we have it, to use it in harmony with that higher power. There may be different names of God, but to recognize that there is a higher power, to humble ourselves and try to live in harmony with that higher power through living with integrity and compassion is important for everyone. from whatever religion or whatever absence of religion. But that is a principle of spirituality. As was said in this conference today, there are different levels of God realization. And one level, which is very, very important, which we can't skip over, is compassion for other living beings. If you try to skip over that to a really high, lofty concept of following Scripture, it's not religion at all. I hope that sort of answers your question.
Perfectly, perfectly. Perfect, thank you. Do we have time for more questions, Dr. Kavita? Everybody knows that within ourselves, we're talking about going within. So this question is relevant to that concept of going within. When we do something wrong or something right, there is an inner voice called as a conscience. How does a person, in a doctor profession especially, because we're talking about unethical practice, how do we really awaken and strengthen that inner call called the conscience, which would itself be a monitor from preventing us from doing the wrong things and guide us towards doing the right things? As a spiritual leader, how would you teach all of us this way of really connecting to that inner conscience, the inner voice, to the right thing, and just be righteous in our behavior?
Do people still listen to radio or television? It's important to tune into the frequency clearly to get a clear message. When I was young, we had radios in our cars with little dials. And I remember to tune into the station, it would go, then you start hearing a voice, if you go too far, and just to tune in, then you could clearly hear the voice. Otherwise, it's static. Or even worse, is you turn to a different channel and they're saying something opposite, and you think this is the channel. Yes? It's a similar situation. There are many frequencies and many channels that are providing so many voices from within us. There's the channel of our greed. There's the channel of our selfish passions. There's a channel of our arrogance. There's a channel of our anger, and so many illusions. And usually many people, they just tune into those channels, those frequencies. And some people even think that's God in my heart speaking. That's where this kind of violence and arrogance is coming into religion. They think they're tuning into God, but it's their anger and their insecurities and their arrogance that they're tuning into. If you tune into the right station, you can judge a tree by its fruit. It will make us an instrument of peace and love and self-control and humility. So we require tuning into the right frequency, and that's what all spiritual practices are for, to help us to truly tune in to that real voice of real conscience within us. That's what a guru is supposed to do. The guru doesn't claim I'm God. The guru is helping us, giving us spiritual practices by which we can tune in to the true God that's within our heart and his heart and everyone's heart. through meditation, through prayer, through seva. In our tradition, we chant this beautiful mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To help tune us in to that inner compassion, that inner voice of God in the soul that's within us. It's a science. Otherwise, the tendency is we put our faith and trust in all these other voices, which distract us. Many of the speakers that spoke prior today were describing through their, we have police commissioners, we have lawyers, we have nurses, we have doctors, we have administrators, we have educators. Now, little Swami's up here speaking. So many people from different fields of life. And they're sharing this, their experience and their realization. How true compassion and true meaning and fulfillment in life comes from integrating our professions, our family situations, our bodies and our minds with our souls, with basic universal spiritual principles. And when we can share this message and help each other to go deeper and deeper into this need, then not only will our lives be full of meaning and joy, but we could truly spread that meaning and joy in wonderful ways throughout Mumbai and Maharashtra and India and Mother Earth. Thank you very much.
Shall we take a quick photo? Shall we take